Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Managed to get a few more videos out this week, and I managed to get some scripts going for a handful more. Like I said, still getting used to things. In fact, I'm back on my gym routine after everything that happened with my health and the move and everything. Been out of the gym for a hot minute. It's been like 5 weeks, I want to say, something in that capacity. But finally back in, got my membership. Been there a few times, and I have to work that into my regular schedule as well. So a lot of adjustments coming in, but I'm finding ways to make things a little bit more concise. Probably gonna start streaming either 2 less hours at some point, like a few days a week, just to get some more YouTube work done, or even live streaming more of my I'm making a YouTube video. I've done that on occasion for like guides and whatnot. So you might see some slightly different styles of videos that I might be doing from this point on. Things that'll make sure I can kind of keep to my schedule. And like I said, I'll probably just be making more time individually, especially in the mornings. I wake up at 6 a.m., but I don't start stream till 10 a.m. now because I kept my same schedule. I'm just 3 hours later, so I start at 10 a.m. Eastern instead of 7 a.m. Pacific. Same thing, but it's different when you're waking up and starting at a different time. So I've got a lot of time in the morning. That's gym time. That's potential work time. So right now I'll probably keep the gym schedule a little bit light, probably 3 or 4 days a week. I need to do that anyway. My body is definitely not in the shape that it was 5-6 weeks ago. And then I'll also be working on video stuff in the morning as well. It might sound a little bit sleepy, but I think it should be a-okay. I've got a raid retrospective that I'm working on. People are asking about a couple of other series as well. I'll get to it. Taking my time at this point, it's a reminder. There's a lot that goes into how I was able to pump out videos, and a lot of it was just because I really had nothing else to be doing most of the time. But after I move, just trying to enjoy myself. And I'll keep saying that until I'm on something that is a little bit more regular. So that's it. I am, however, recording this Saturday night so that I have time Sunday morning to actually work on a video. That'll largely be probably how I'll approach it, a couple hours in the evening, a few nights of the week, and then maybe add a couple hours if I want to end stream early, and then do it I got 3 hours in the morning as well. I'm even contemplating waking up a little bit earlier, wake up at 5:30 instead of 6. I woke up at 5:30 back in California. What's the big deal? I'll be all right. But anyway, let's get on to the Q&A. I probably have about 40-ish minutes or so that I can probably spare to get this done. So let's get to it. It might just be a bunch of comments, given, the statements I was making last week about, BA, DRS. And look, I can already see the first comment mention something with BA. I didn't really read it. I just see BA in capital letters. So it might not be too long in terms of just questions. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Before we get started, though, don't forget, usual sponsors under the stream. The card shop that I've been mentioning is still there. I did do a second haul for Magic the Gathering X Final Fantasy. Small one. Just did a few boosters and a collector booster box. So nothing too major, and I made out pretty good for it. I got Zodiark and Hydaelyn, which I didn't have before. I got, I got another Kefka Court Mage, which I think I have 2 of those, and it's the alt art foil. That's nice. I got a second Surge foil Fang. Yeah, great. And I got 5 Sids now total. All my Sid pulls have been unique. I think I got a foil Final Fantasy 12 Sid, extended art Final Fantasy 14 Sid, and then I think I have 2, 4, and 9. Yeah, 2, 4, 9, 12, 14 are the Sids that I have thus far. So I'm glad with that. I would love to open more packs, but I really can't justify it at the moment. Oh, I could probably justify regular boosters, but I really shouldn't. So I'm not going to. But their card shop is below. Also, Steel Series, they've been really supportive of me as I work towards things. I am going to start kind of integrating random Steel Series ads into videos over the next couple of weeks. Or I'm going to record it, I should say, over the next couple of weeks. I'll have some Magic Spoon stuff probably in the next week or so. They've also been incredibly understanding with everything that's been going on. And I want to make sure I get my usual Magic Spoon ads going. And other than that, I think we're good. So let's get into the Q&A. Hashtag Mondays with Ivy and Mrhappy. Ivy's not in here right now. I don't think any of the cats are in here with me right now. Hello again. Hi. Don't ever want to not give you hello. And you could read this one first. Nice. Doing all right? I'm doing all right. One other thing. I do agree most elegant solution is probably a raid in a zone like CLL and just have a savage version of it, either in the zone or a different region to queue or out of zone directly. That way everyone gets it. Oh. Is this just a... Is there no question here? Or did, YouTube just decide to not cut it out. We actually, so I haven't uploaded it yet, but I will be uploading it on Sunday, State of the Realm. We did talk about Fork Tower, and there's actually some pretty good suggestions and ideas in there. We do talk a little bit about how if you want to do this raid exactly as it is, including with the leveling down aspect, you can't really have, like, here's the thing. If Fork Tower was in a separate zone, the level down thing would have to be gone. Now, quite frankly, the level down thing barely matters here. It's a fate and it's 2 fates and a CE gets you the level back. But it would be even more obnoxious to every single time you wipe in Fork Tower to exit, go to Occult Crescent, get your levels back, leave, queue up for Fork. Like, that has its own share of issues. But to be fair, they could just make you not lose EXP in Fork Tower. There's also another suggestion that I actually thought was really smart and actually just makes complete sense with how it's designed. So we get 3 extra lives, but if you don't get the res from Chemist, you don't get to use the extra lives. If everyone's dead, you're just dead. Which, quite frankly, I didn't really think about it during Prog, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you have that many lives, then you should also be able to respawn that many times. So that'd be a little concession I'd actually think would make it a little bit, feel a little bit more approachable and make the progression feel a lot smoother, is if they actually did that. If they let you kind of respawn at a checkpoint from wherever the last boss or hallway you cleared was, if you had spare lives. And I think people would feel a lot better. I think the progression would feel a lot better. Instance progging wouldn't feel as bad as long as that was still part of the design choice. Yeah, no, it was a great discussion with some really good feedback and ideas that could keep this idea very similar, the way it's executed now, but just done a lot better. So I highly recommend giving that State of the Realm a watch if you didn't catch it this last week. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hey, Haps. Hi, how are you? I'm doing a lot better. I'm back. I'm being back at the gym, man. Feels so good. Like, I'm a lot weaker now, and I can feel how much weaker I am after not working out for 5 weeks, but that kind of stuff comes back pretty quick once your body gets used to the idea of doing it again. So I'm just glad to be back there. Hey, Haps, how are you? I have a question regarding the gym. Perfect! I didn't even read that part before I started saying that. More specifically, I wanted to ask you if you had any advice for where to look for guidance or how to start working out in general for beginners, especially for someone like me who's tall and relatively skinny, wants to build muscle and bulk up, and who's also a former athlete, mainly swimming and other things. So everyone's different. I think that the problem with looking for guidance is that it's really easy to go on the internet and have someone tell you what you should be doing. In reality, you know, obviously, like you're asking me, in reality, there's a lot of discovery that goes into figuring out what's going to work for you and what isn't. There has to, and it's for every aspect. That's for the time you have available. That's for your actual goals, like you've listed some here. Then there's even just figuring out what things just don't feel good for your body to do. I hate doing lat pull downs. I still do them occasionally, but wide grip lat pull downs just feel awful on my body. So I tend to work away from those, but that's like a really traditional exercise that almost anyone's going to recommend that you do. So then you look for variants, you know, you look for, you know, maybe doing underhand and just really focusing on the contraction at the bottom and then the slow part back, and then, you know, the slow eccentric coming back up. Maybe you just are being skinny. Pull-ups is usually a lot easier for someone who's really skinny, and thus you can build your body as you're building the push-ups. As you're building the pull-ups, and you can kind of keep your body kind of progressing at the same pace that your strength progresses, and it's a little easier than being bigger and trying to do pull-ups and then getting, you know, large, like from muscles, and then also trying to. It can just be really tough. Like pull-ups are really touch and go. So realistically, if you just want to build muscle and you're skinny, it's eat more and just do the normal stuff. You don't need anything fancy. There's a lot of advice out there. There's a lot of things that are like way over the top. You just need to eat more and do consistent weightlifting exercise. Hitting the muscle groups, you know, 4 or 5 sets to a workout is like a nice, easy way to progress in. Focus more sets on chest, back, and legs than on places like arms and shoulders, but still make sure that you're doing, you know, everything to keep everything proportionate, and don't ever exceed what you can do. If you can barely finish the rep and you're like on your second set, you've gone too heavy. And stepping back in weight, being able to accept that you can step down in weight is better. Unless you're deliberately, one of the ways people work out is they top end, where they do like 4 or 5, they're like 5 or 6 reps in their first set, the heaviest they can do, and then they go down from there because they want that first set where they're least exhausted to be the heaviest set. There's so many different ways. And my only main advice, on top of eating more specifically because you want to build muscle bulk up, and don't just eat junk. I never like to see people doing that. Eat like food, you know, like normal food. Like treat yourself once in a while, but like eat normal food. Don't like just bulk up on like donuts and shit. Is be consistent and be ready to discover things and find things that do and don't work. It's a learning process for every single person. You won't have the answers right away. And just try to grab information and try things without hurting yourself and go from there and see what feels like it's working or what, you know, is most comfortable for you to be doing. So have fun with it, you know, figure out what is your workout, what your regimen needs to be. And it'll be better than just doing somebody else's. Even if you have to like take things from other people's regimens, that's fine, but you're going to fine tune it and pick and you know, pick out the things that make the most sense and that feel the best for you to do. So, you know, it's modular. Just, you know, go with it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. I understand we're not getting a new Occult Crescent content in 7.35. Do you know if we'll get a Relic step? So we are most likely getting a Relic step, and that's where that fear of it just being tomes again really kicks in. Because there's no new additions to the Occult Crescent in 7.35, will they put things that we can do in there or anywhere else in the game, or are they just gonna do tomes again? It's a huge toss-up. Some people are being optimistic. Some people like me are more pessimistic, or at the very least, not swinging all the way to one side, because I can totally see it happening. But yeah, they're not going to skip a Relic because Occult Crescent isn't getting anything new. Because in 7.45, there will also be only new Phantom jobs added. That doesn't really have any impact on the Relic. But they're not going to only do 2 Relic patches. They're going to like fill it with something else. Either a light farm that I think realistically either 0.35 or 0.45 will have a light farm. If you didn't do the Realm Reborn or the Heavensward ones, it's basically where when you complete content with the weapon equipped, you gain, or I mean, sorry, they don't even have to do it with the weapon equipped. They could just give you like a flask or something like Eureka does. You complete content under a certain condition and you fill up a bar. And when it fills all the way, you can use it for Relic advancement. I think that's a nice, easy thing to encourage people to do Fates and CEs. I think that also means people can just go do their roulettes. Hopefully they add light to things like Fates as well, so you can just do whatever and get the light. It's very much the not Tomestone version of what they seek to accomplish with Tomestones, where it's do whatever you want, hardcore farm it if you really want to, or just log in and casually work on it every day, and you'll make some progress towards it. It just is more dedicated without using resources like tomes that are then used for other things. So yeah, I'm curious what they will do though, because obviously this thing. Oh, there is a cat in here. Hello, Sausage. You must have been in here the whole time. Was it because of the thunderstorm? I have a big fluffy cat in here. It's not Ivy this time. It's Sausage. Come here, Sausage. Yeah. Come here. Come here. Oh, she does not. Sausage, come on. Hi. Hi. Oh, she's purring. Yeah? Can you hear her purring? Here you go. Okay, I'm gonna put you down now, Sausage. Good sausage. Ah, Sophie has big fluffy cats. Anyway, yeah, I'm curious what they'll do as well. And that's why my concern is they will just do tomes, and I really don't want them to. You know how I feel about that. I don't need to say it anymore. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Afternoon, Mr. Happy, sir. Hello. Recently, I joined a first-time raiding static, and we started M5S. I've raided before, but I am a PF junkie. Well, they all got into a debate about when to pot. With a few arguing, it's best to pot right at the start of the fight and fit in 3 pots, and they're saying to pot twice at the first 2-minute burst and the last 2-minute burst. So I just look up the logs, and the top DPS in the fight, I found most jobs use the 2-pot method. The one who argued 3 was the ninja. Well, when I looked at the ninja logs, I found top 10 ninjas never potted. Well, that's not indicative. That's just, it's funny though. That's these fucking ninjas are lazy as hell. Is this all because they chatted and it's late in the season, they don't bother? Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably it. Okay, so technically you're both right. The top DPS, I think something you're missing is the actual kill time. Your kill time has to allow for 3 pots, for 3 pots to be optimal, which means it has to be an at least 10-minute long encounter, where there's no way to get more than 2 pots within 2-minute windows. So generally speaking, that would be 2 and 8. So you would have to wait a really long time to get another pot. Now, sometimes mechanics or downtime phases can alter when we want our pot timings, right? But for something like M5S, I don't know what the encounter time is off the top of my head, but if the encounter time is like, let's say it's 10 minutes and 30 seconds, 3 pots is only better if you plan on basically using 10 minutes and 20 seconds of that 10 minutes, 30 seconds. Otherwise, 2 pots is going to be ideal. If there's just no way you would get a third, then there's no point in doing it. There are encounters, however, where a 5-minute pot is a very logical pot. And that can also be very important in prog, where maybe, like, so let's say, what's a good example? You could pot at 0 and 5 on the first phase of M8S, for example, because you will not get another pot. Now, that would mean that your pot in the second phase, you would, only get 1 pot in the second phase. When you're first progging, that's probably okay to do 0 and 5. And then whenever you actually have it available in the next phase, you'll do it then. But eventually you'll go to just potting once at probably 0 and 6. Well, I guess if you're going to pot twice, you could pot at 0 and 6, but like, you know what I'm saying at that point. Like, you're basically analyzing the length of the fight and if you would get a second pot. I think a good example, M7 is a fight where you do want to pot at 0, 5, and 10. Again, unless you are actually killing it in under 10, but I don't remember the actual encounter length and the odds of, I'm pretty sure you will always get that last pot. But yeah, M7S should be a 3-pot fight, but M5 and M6, I'd say M6 especially is a little bit of a weird one, because I'm of the opinion that I very regularly want to pot at the very start and then hold my pot for the ad phase when I have 2s, which is kind of near the end. But I would say that M6 is a very much like, as you're progging, if you're noticing any part of the ad phase that's tough, people should move pots around just to make sure the ad phase is smooth, because the boss DPS check shouldn't actually be a concern. So it's variable. The answer is, don't commit to one idea. Commit to figuring out what is actually needed to progress. And then once your group is clearing and you're good, that's when you talk about what's best overall, because the answer is not the same for every group and every skill level and every progression level. It is very much down to the static about what you should do. And I'm sure if you were to look at some other advice, they might tell you specific things like I'm telling you here, and it will continue to be the case. So at the end of the day, I would say you're best doing the 2 pots, because I don't even think you realistically don't want to have to see that 10-minute part. But if you do, then the 3 pots ends up being better. But I don't have the encounter length off the top of my head, so that may not be the case. But those are just the case uses of it. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey there. Hi. Curious if you ever lost your passion for gaming before. When I was in college, I barely had time to game, so I was losing my love for gaming. Bringing it back about 2 years after I finished college. I would just call that responsible, but no, not really. I think the closest I get to that is, as a creator, I definitely don't play the number of games that I would normally play. There are so many games that have come out that I would love to commit my time to, but monetarily speaking, on stream and within my own content, it doesn't make sense for me to. A great example, Sophie and I played this game called Sunderfolk, just in our spare time, and I would love to stream that with like a group of people. It's basically like D&D Lite, where you put the game on like Steam or on your PlayStation, and then everybody uses their phone to QR scan, and then your phone becomes the controller instead of a PS5 controller. It's got your attacks, it's got your relationship statuses with NPCs, it's got all the D&D information that you would effectively need, but much simpler. It's not as in-depth, and the missions themselves are segmented. It's like you go to a map and perform a tactical style mission instead of constantly like moving around. But it was fantastic. I thought it was great, and I thought a full playthrough would be awesome. My camera is like down a little bit. I can't help but notice. Sorry. I'm also doing this with the desk standing, so it's probably a little bit different as well. But I would love to stream that. There's plenty of indie games that have come out as well that just look fantastic. I love Risk of Rain, for example, Risk of Rain 2. I've played, God, there's so many games. What was one? Whoops was talking about one the other day, but I can't remember. That was really good. I played Schedule 1 a little bit. I love all kinds of games, and my passion for them's never gone anywhere. But as a creator, sometimes what you lose is the autonomy to do what you want. It's especially true for someone like me who, I would say, I relatively trapped myself within the Final Fantasy sphere, and I don't have the time, nor do I want to spend the time taking away from the things that work to do things that I don't know if they'll work. I've wanted to many times over the years, but the situation with my mother, which if you don't know, I made a video about it, go watch that, I don't want to explain it here, largely robbed me of that freedom. I'm trying to get it back now, in all honesty, because I really want to bring a whole lot more than I do. And I want to try new things. I want to, be the gamer I was, trying out and just playing all these different games that I always loved and enjoyed. Like, I've played every genre and gone through every, different things. I've used to play Resident Evil games with my friends, and I'd even play, sports games, I just loved trying something new. And I can't do that as much now. And it is discouraging at times, but the passion's there. I think of all the things in my life I've always ever been sure of is that video games would be a part of my life. And maybe that's just because of the seriousness of how much it helped me as a kid going through what I went through and the household that I grew up in, that it's just, I don't think I could lose it, I didn't have much else for a lot of years. And so, I'm going to hold on to that because it's important to me. Hashtag Happy Mondays with Happy Mister. Good morning and hello. Hi. I had a question for you related to content creation. All right. Not sure how much audio work you do for your narration voice recordings, but do you have any equipment recommendations or any insight into your workflow to make your already pleasant voice more pleasing to your audience? Been using a USB Blue Yeti for a decade now. It takes a lot of equalizing and cuts. Yeah. The Blue Yeti is what we call, content creators' first microphone. It gets the job done, but if you even want to make it somewhat functional, you need a shock absorber, and you need a pop filter and a handful of other things. And that can be, and honestly, those are basics. I don't even have a pop filter on this. I did bring my pop filter with me. I just didn't unbox it. Same type of microphone. I could just pop it right on. The metaphor looking one that looks like a heart because it looks like something else because it's upside down, but it's supposed to be the heart from metaphor. No, I actually do very little audio work, and people who work in audio pointed out on occasion places where my audio might peak or spike in really just kind of amateurish ways, but I've never really valued being seen as professional. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not that I don't want to seem unprofessional, but there's a level of authenticity that I like having when things are just kind of a little jank. And maybe that's just me making excuses to not put in the effort to do it. I don't know. But whenever something's really, really studio grade, I don't know. For me, it just feels staged in a sense. It's too far. But there's a lot you can do. You can record audio separately through Audacity or something, and then put it through certain filters to get rid of things like background noises, or isolate things, or isolate parts of your voice, or cut down on different pitches that maybe are unpleasant to hear. And I have tried doing some of those in the past, but for every video, I kind of just don't want to. I'd rather have a somewhat decent microphone with a decent enough setup, and that's kind of it. There are plenty of things equipment-wise you can do. I would start with a microphone that is highly recommended by many people. Any of them. I use the SteelSeries Alias Pro. I've enjoyed it very much. It comes with its own equalizing program and a few automatic tweaks that it can make so you don't have to do too much. And even then, I don't mess with that all too much. Sometimes I change it to I want it to focus on my deeper tones, for example, on my voice. And sometimes I want it to cut out, when I get really loud, I want it to kind of tone down how much that peaks. And there are ways to do that in the application. But there's plenty of microphones that are really high end. I just find audio work exhausting. So just having something that is innately higher quality than a Blue Yeti is usually more than enough. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Greetings and salutations. Hi. With the Evil East Chronicles, I can't wait. Coming out in September, is there anything you can think of off the top of your head that can make as a trophy that would make that you dread your inevitable platinum run? Ooh, leveling one of every job that's not even that bad. I guess it depends on if they leave the leveling methods in, because there's some really simple leveling methods and tactics to get some jobs leveled up. Learning one of every skill, yeah, even that, yeah, mastering every job is kind of it, but that's actually just not that bad of a thing. Okay, clearing challenges in certain ways could be a way to do it, like defeating Ultima in the minimum number, or then like under X number of turns, or to have seen one thing that the decisions you make in the story, the small decisions, if any are affected by that could get really annoying. But actually, no. Tactics, I don't feel like, unless there's additional content, which we know there's new story, but I mean, like, something that we don't already know that's in the base game. Like, what if they stick Palace of the Dead in there, like, in Tactics Ogre is where Palace of the Dead is from. What if they stuck Palace of the Dead in Tactics? Like, that would be a pain. It is a pain in Tactics Ogre. It would be a pain in Final Fantasy Tactics. But that's it. I'd, like, beat the game without losing any unit permanently. That could be kind of tough, but, like, there's enough strategy out there that you would eventually figure it out. So no, actually, I don't expect. Final Fantasy games usually don't have the terrible trophy lists. If they do, it's because you have to do something way too much, like 1,000 jump ropes or the lightning bolt challenge or something like that. Collect every item in the game for Final Fantasy 13. It has to be something that is volume-wise awful to do, or requires such a degree of mastery of the game that very few people can actually innately do it. Something like if you had to do Excalibur 2 without the speed up, that would be really tough in Final Fantasy 9. But you don't have to. You got the speed up for it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Platinum Trophy is going to be that bad. Side question: have you played the Sea of Stars free DLC? No. But I mean, Sea of Stars. I really like Sea of Stars, so I would like to. I probably should. Remember those things? Remember what I said earlier? Those things that I want to do that I don't always feel like I have time to do? That's on the list. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. It's a small thing. For some reason, I was suddenly worried as if I hadn't pressed start recording. I don't know why. Small thing, but do you think it's a missed opportunity? There are no Explorer NPCs that show up around the map or in Fates, in CEs, and OC. I thought it was charming part of Bozia. Looks like at least some of that, and it looks like at least some of them are fighters. Explorer NPCs. You're talking about the other members of the Blades. Yeah, that's pretty crucial. A lot of people kind of didn't pay attention to the story. And so they don't know that the Blades that you're doing the CEs with in the Southern Front, they all get brainwashed and they get merged into the bosses that you fight in Delubrum. Like, all the Trinity bosses are 3 of the Blades stuck together, effectively. Like, merged together by what's-her-face? I forget her name. I just always think Gunhildr. I guess technically still correct. But yeah, kind of tragic what happened to those characters. And yeah, I wouldn't mind, but it's kind of in a strange place because, like, in Final Fantasy V, there is a Phantom Village, but it's a very strange village. Like, it doesn't, it's not, it's hard to even say if those people are alive. Like, it's just kind of weird because then they show up in the void again, but they're like frozen in time. So it's kind of strange. And then Crescent Island has the town of Crescent, but obviously we're not in Crescent. We're in the Phantom Village, which is another Final Fantasy V reference. So I guess given the context of the zone and the story there, I'm not. It made more sense in the Southern Front, given it was indeed a war front. It was also, again, great setup for when the Trinity bosses would come in and we would see what happened to all the Blades that were tempered. But no, I mean, sure, it would be conceptually cool. If they did it again, I'd be like, oh, that's nice. But it has to also make sense for where we are. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. No hello. Damn. How many problems would be solved if Poetics would be stacked up to 100,000, causing people to have more Poetics as they just have more room to stack rather than overcapping? Also, what are your thoughts on how long it takes to get capped tombstone gear? Personally, I believe it should only take 6 weeks. Well, I mean, depending on your job, it could take less than 6 weeks. It's the upgrade materials that end up being more of a problem than anything else. Yeah, for Bard, how many did I need? I needed, what, 5 pieces total? So that's what, 2 weeks, 2 weeks? Yeah, that was like 6 weeks, approximately. I've had all my tombstone gear for Bard for a while now. Something like that. Maybe at least 6 weeks of raid. Maybe not 6 weeks of tomes. Maybe it was 7 weeks of tomes. I don't know. Stacking up 100,000 Poetics, that doesn't solve a problem. That just means that if you're doing old content and you just happen to forget about your tomes forever, you just have a bunch of tomes. That's it. Like, you just wanted to do the old relics. You're like, man, I never did the old relics, but I have 80,000 tomes. Maybe I should do some of those. It like wouldn't change anything. Like, the current relic isn't going to use Poetics. So like, you'd have to be like, well, in 2 years I'll use Poetics. which is not good when you want to be doing the content when it comes out and working on it when it comes out and not do it later. So almost no problems would be solved by this. But as for the second question, it's weird. It's not about how many weeks it takes to me. It's about how many gear sets we have. And that, like, 7 gear sets is a lot of gear sets. Like, if it took 6-7 weeks and it was like 5 gear sets, it may not be as bad, right? Like, or if there was like a way to like get an item that you could exchange. Like, honestly, that wouldn't be too bad if in like 0.3 or something, like they add an item that can exchange for like tombstone gear, or exchanges for whatever number of tomes or something, or lets you like occasionally overcap. There's a lot of elegant solutions to it that don't involve even raising the cap in the first place. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really care enough. Like, if I want the gear set for its glam and its glam only, I'll get it when it's the uncapped tomes. If I want it functionally, I don't know. I guess I would never consider being functional on that many jobs within the raid tier's like current form. Because if I was, I would just use the raid gear. Like, I would be like, I don't need BIS to play this job. I can just play it with whatever gear I have. This stuff was not made to like need BIS, unless it's ultimate, in which case it's a different story. But even then, generally no ultimate is coming, so you just don't spend it ahead of time unless you plan on hopping between 3 different roles before ultimate, in which case you could still almost do that because you have like 22 weeks from like a savage tier coming out to an ultimate, approximately. Well, no, you have like 20 weeks realistically. So yeah, it's a bunch of weird bits. Wouldn't mind if they raise the cap, but not by much. I don't want to do 900 tomes in a week, and I don't want to do 2,000 tomes all at once. Like 600 or something, or lower the costs. You know, just, again, tons of solutions. Oh boy, that is a wall of text. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hi Haps. Hi, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I feel like the enthusiasm for new content is really starting to show a much faster drop-off than ever before. A few weeks after Cosmic Exploration release, the zones are largely empty. Either there's maybe 15 people across 3 instances of the zone, maybe 20 during primetime evenings. Occult Crescent seems to be slowing down quickly as well. I feel like in both cases, they just threw the rewards out far too easily and made the long-term grind less attractive. Palette Swap Mountain CE for all the 500k point achievement, the absurd headache to end, well, that, and also it's just really hard to do some of the missions to do the points. Also, the Pterodon, anyway. People, you know, it's a really long-term thing. Made the long time, okay, yeah. Absurd headaches to enter tower plus nothing but sanguinite dropping from bosses. Feel like this stuff, plus the fact that they destroyed the market for the rare Eureka Bogia mount drops, reeks of the devs struggling to understand what we mean when we want better rewards. It also further mixes their messages when it comes to PvP feast rewards needing to remain forever locked away due to the reward feeling being taken away from those that earn them back in the feast win trading days. Well, how is that different from people that earn the emotes and mounts in Eureka Bogia and train farming chests for hours and days? Because it could all be bought with Gil, and Gil is universal. That is the hard difference between the exact examples you just gave is the big difference. I guess in theory you could have paid someone to boost your rank in the feasts way back when for win trading. I guess that's technically a thing that could have happened, but in terms of their functional intended design, yeah, you couldn't spend Gil to boost your feast rank. Not to mention that they've been out for 6-7 years, and some of those rewards are even in the Stormblood boxes. They also Eureka and Bosia, the highest value items, the best consistent Gil was always fragments. Protective fragments are still 50k a pop. It's insane. And some of the other ones are like 20k or 6k. Like, almost all the Gil I make in Eureka is fragments. Like, even just the last time I decided to go into Eureka for like 3 days and then do some BAs, I walked out with like several million Gil. Like, it was insane. Like, it just make money. And none of it came from Eldthers or any of the chest items. It came from fragments and whatever dropped in BA. That being said, the Sanguinite only thing, I feel like, is a valid concern when it comes to Fork Tower, because the only thing of value in there is Twirl, which isn't technically locked to BA. That and upgrading your gear. All the other stuff like the chair and whatnot and the mount, I don't know what they were thinking with 99 Sanguinite for the shark when I got like 6 of them before I even entered Fork Tower. Got no idea what's going on there. I think that the faster fall off is people just genuinely not wanting to do things for longer than that period of time. I don't care what they did with Cosmic Exploration. I was never gonna craft for 2 months straight. Not unless I was working on the 500,000 mount, in which case I'd probably be done already if I was that hardcore of a crafter and going that hard the entire time. So, it wouldn't have mattered regardless to me. And the same with the same with the new zone for Occult. Bosia, the majority of people stopped after the first week or two. It was like 5 years ago, but it's not like people were obsessed with, oh my god, I gotta log in and do Bosia. Most players want to get in, do the content, understand the content, experience it, and then go do something else. Whether that is doing something else in game, like achievement hunting, or going and doing raids for the first time. People don't just want to do one thing, like non-stop, unless they are like have hyper fixations. Like I have that sometimes. So I think it's more like we notice it more now. And it's easier to notice. But like I don't have an issue with getting into an Occult Crescent and doing gold farm or doing silver farm, or, you know, just looking around for chests and just socializing and people talking in shout chat. And then there's all the discords that are running Fort Tower. Some of them are trying to progress. Some of them are trying to do, you know, just Sanguinite runs, which I'd actually love to join, and I should absolutely be joining them. So yeah, there's, it's a matter of scaling your own interest versus noticing the other people who don't want to do it for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end at the same time. Because just a lot of people don't. It's going to be around forever. And so there's no reason to be in there like grinding 120,000 silver or whatever it is to try to get every armor set the moment that, like, there's just no reason to do that. You can do it when you feel like doing it, not do it when you don't feel like doing it. You probably just don't feel like doing it after the first couple of weeks. You know, there's only so many Fate Seas and gold farms that you're going to do unless you're someone who's really dedicated to trying to do the treasure hunts, which I got 2 pure white dice today. I've got like 3 fortune carrots. I've gotten 2 twirly motes. I'm actually doing all right in there. But, yeah, I think it's just, no matter what, no one's going to, like, not everyone in the game is going to hard commit to these activities. Even if they are perfect, they won't do it. Hashtag Happy Mondays with Happy Mister. Hi, hello, hi. Been doing OC and I've been wondering, what is the point of Freelancer? When I first saw it, I thought it'd be like Final Fantasy V and you could select abilities from all the other jobs you've already mastered. It doesn't do anything like that, so I've been wondering, why does it even exist? So number one, knowing how many chests are on the map is actually nice. It effectively becomes a treasure hunting job. But also you have to remember, we don't have every job in Occult Crescent yet. We don't have, I believe, 9 other jobs that they said they were going to add. I think it was they were adding 3 in 0.4 and 6 in 0.5. They told us, but that might not be the right number. Pretty sure it's 3 in 0.4, but the 0.5 number is, I'm not going to guarantee that's right. So Freelancer at the end of it all could be just Giga God mode. I think they want Freelancer for the flavor. It is very Final Fantasy V. It does gain its mastery as other jobs are mastered. So it's kind of like a kind of break point in your progression. But when it's all the way complete, I don't know that I want a job that lets me pick abilities from other jobs for phantom jobs. Because then everyone's just going to go Freelancer. And like, yeah, that's pretty much what happens in 5. You're either Freelancer or Mime if you're like really leveling everything, or it's not like a 4-job fiesta, which I just finished a run of. But I don't want that personally, and maybe they don't either. Because it's like, then why even design all the other jobs in the first place? That's how I feel, at the very least. I'm sorry, I'm checking my pocket for something, because I feel like I dropped something important. I'll do it after this question. But yeah, that's how I feel about that. Oh, well, okay. That actually ended up being the last question. I spent the last, like, 5 minutes. I dropped something out of my pocket, and I don't know where it is, and I would very much like to find it. I find it was very important. But yeah, that's going to be that was the last question at the very least. There's a few comments. It's funny, at the very bottom, there's one. It's very funny how more options are always better, but when it's an option he doesn't like, all the excuses come out. I don't know what I said last week that would have warranted that. I think maybe it was the question about, like, it was probably the Fork Tower thing, I would assume. But it's like, options have to make sense within the content, but like, more options. Unless they mean tombstones, which is like, again, I said tombstones are great as an option, but we want more things. So you don't only have to use them. I don't know if it's just someone being dumb and literally just not listening, given, you know, North America, it's entirely possible. But yeah, there's a few other things just talking about, again, there's a lot of Fork Tower comments from last week that are in here. A lot of people like don't understand the apprehension, or people just, instead of complaining, just did it. We would probably be, much better off. Someone asking if players in North America read chat macros for instructions. Dude, one time I was in a party where it was posted a chat macro that basically just said, H1 here, H2 here, MT. And then we all were just going to call the positions on the macro. Now, H1, I think most people can common sense would mean first healer. And then one of the tanks called, I'll take H1. And they were like, that's a healer spot. And they're like, oh, my bad. I'll take H2. Jesus Christ, there's no hope. There's no hope for us. Yeah, it's a comment about how in JP, they all use macros. It's all very easily communicated. And in North America, nobody can fucking read. So that's why we can't use macros, because every time they see a macro, what the fuck is that? Bro, it's the whole fight in like 5 lines of text. It's usually like 50 lines of text, to be fair. It's the whole fight in like 20 lines of text. And they're like, just give me a diagram on a site. I will say this, though. A lot of the reasons why people prefer the diagrams is not because they even don't want to or don't understand the macro. It's because they straight up have to use it as a resource mid-fight on the other monitor on their phone. Which, by the way, is a great idea. If it helps you do the fights, I would highly recommend doing that. I still do it sometimes when I forget fights when I only raid once a week. I'll be like, where do we stand for that again? Let me pull up the diagram. I'll do it too. But, when you're confident in a fight, you can usually just know, hey, these are the normal positions, and the macro, I am this spot, and then be done with it. Even if you then need the diagram, it's much easier than the marker dance. It's a resource you can always pull up in the chat. You can copy it yourself and have it handy. But NA can't do that, and the region that clears content the most is very good at it. Don't think that's a coincidence. They've better methods. What else can you say? But yeah, that's going to be a wrap for this week's Q&A. So thanks for watching. Be sure to ask your questions in the comment section of the video below. I'm going to go look for that thing that was in my pocket, and I hope I can find it. But yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, ask questions below. Thanks to the sponsors, Card Shop, Steel Series, all that good shit. And I will see you guys next week. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.